Hey guys, welcome back to Salem, Cellar. So I've been really enjoying doing my top 10 movies for specific years. So recently I thought, what was another great year for movies? And 2002 came to mind. That's the year I was graduating from high school, and I just remember so many awesome movies coming out and just always being in the theater. So today I'm going to give you my top 10. But first, make sure you're following me on social media, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be right back. So there really was a lot of amazing sci-fi and horror movies that year. Like, I didn't even realize until I Googled 2002 and I'm like, wow. So my list today is mainly horror movies and sci-fi movies, but there's so many other good movies that came out this year. Spider-Man, the one with Tobey Maguire. Mr. Deeds with Adam Sandler. I love Adam Sandler. I love all his movies. Mr. Deeds is hysterical. 8 Mile with Eminem. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Scooby-Doo. Who does not like Scooby-Doo? There's just so many awesome movies that came out this year. So the first movie, and now this is not in any specific order, this is totally random order, but the first movie on my list is Cabin Fever. Do you remember that movie? It is about 5 college graduates who rent a cabin and are, just gonna party it up. Well, they get a flesh-eating bacterial disease, and it just gets a little weird and crazy from there. I remember seeing this movie in the theater. I remember being completely repulsed, seeing everybody's skin peeling off. There was one scene that stands out to me. The girl is in the bath and she's shaving her legs and her skin's peeling off. Like, dude, why are you shaving your legs? All your friends are dying and you're in the tub shaving your legs. Like, I never understood that, but I will never forget the scene of her just shaving and the skin coming off while she's doing it. Ugh, totally disgusting. But it is an awesome movie. It is fun from start to finish. So if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. I think there's a sequel as well. I've never seen the sequel, but the first one I loved. The next movie is Signs. Signs starring Joaquin Phoenix, Mel Gibson. Now this movie is an M. Night Shyamalan movie and it involves aliens. Like, I love aliens. So it's pretty slow at times, but when it gets to where it needs to be, it's intense. Like, I remember there's a scene in it where Joaquin Phoenix is like in the closet. Now they know aliens are here. They're invading the planet. And he's in the closet and he's watching this video. I don't know where it was. It was in South America. And the kids are like playing outside, and then all of a sudden you see a alien walk by the window. That scared the crap out of me. Like, that was so scary to me. Like, it's just kind of like a jump scare. And it has a really cool ending. It's just a fun movie throughout. It's one of my favorites of M. Night Shyamalan. So I didn't even realize it was 2002 this movie came out, but it is awesome. Watch it if you haven't. It's a sci-fi, it's just a fun movie throughout. My next is one of my favorite vampire movies and my favorite vampires of all time. It's Blade 2. Now, I don't know why, but Blade 2 to me is my favorite of the franchise. There is these vampires in it that are vampire-eating vampires. The opening scene to me is just, Blade 1 has an awesome opening scene, but this opening scene, you see this man and he has a scar on his face and he's at some type of like blood donating clinic, and they bring him back to this room and they're like asking him, does he have any next of kin? Does he have any diseases? And you're like, what's up with this place? Like, this place looks super shady. And then you're like, bam, these are vampires. They're not just trying to get some blood from him. They are trying to drain him they're trying to drain him completely of all his blood. So that starts the movie. Then you realize this guy is not a normal man. He is a mutated, weird vampire creature. His face opens up and he kills the vampires. And then he says something into the camera screen, and I don't know what language it is, but it's just I hate vampires or something like that. But it was such a fun way to start it. Wesley Snipes is awesome. The cast is awesome. Daryl from The Walking Dead is in it, which I love Daryl. I love The Walking Dead. It is just a fun ride. I loved the movie. I loved the ending. You know, there's little twists and turns throughout. There's scenes where you just like don't want to stop watching it. But if you haven't seen Blade, you need to see all of them. Just watch all the movies. But Blade 2 is my favorite. The next movie on my list is The Ring. Oh my God, where do I even begin with The Ring? Now, I saw The Ring in the movie theater. Whew. I could not sleep with a television in my room for weeks. I was scarred. Now, I go to sleep watching horror movies. I wake up watching horror movies. Horror is my life, and this movie scared the crap out of me. Now when I rewatch it, it's not as scary. I think it was the shock. There's one scene when they're telling a story about a girl who was found dead. I think she was like hanging out with her friends, and they're telling the story, and then they shoot to like her face. Now that is the part, the jump scare that got me. Like her face is just like mangled, completely mangled. I will never forget that image as long as I live. Sometimes I even turn away when I know that part's about to come. But this creepy dead girl comes out of a television to kill you. You watch a movie, which I watch movies constantly, and then you have 7 days later, like, you're gonna be murdered by her. Like, that's pretty scary. Like, sometimes I'm watching something, I don't know what I'm watching. I put it, like put the DVD in, start watching. What if I watch something like this? I don't know. It scared the crap out of me. It's just terrifying. There were also 2 other movies after this movie that was just as scary. Maybe a little less scary, but they were pretty scary. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. The next movie on my list is Resident Evil. One of my favorite zombie movies. Shout out to the zombie crew. This movie I just loved. Now, I'm not somebody who played the video game, so I wasn't comparing it. So probably that's why I love this movie even more. I love Mila. She's just a badass woman in my opinion. I just love how the movie starts. It gets right into it. The zombies are just so much fun. The cast is fun. I've always loved this movie, and I loved the sequels, even though they kind of got a little bad. I love them. I can watch them all the time. This is just probably the top of my zombie movie list, but there's a lot of other awesome zombie movies out there. But Resident Evil was one of my favorite movies from this year. Next is Men in Black 2, starring Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones. Now, this movie is just a lot of fun. It's about, obviously it's involving the Men in Black, involving aliens and them saving the planet from alien destruction. So Tommy Lee Jones went into retirement at the end of the first movie. This movie, Will Smith needs him to come back. So he goes to the post office. There's a scene with Biz Markie. It's just a lot of fun. He comes back and he starts to remember his old life. I just love this movie. I love all the Men in Black movies. This is probably my favorite, though, of all the entire franchise. Will Smith is great. Tommy Lee Jones is great. If you haven't seen it, definitely go see it. My next is Panic Room. This movie is a good time. It's starring Jared Leto, Kristen Stewart. It is about a single mother and her daughter. They just moved into this new house, really cute house, and the house has a panic room. So Kristen Stewart's the daughter, Jodie Foster's her mother. They are getting ready for bed one night, and Forrest Whitaker, Jared Leto, and I think it was another man, I don't remember his name, they break into the house. They want to get something in that house. And the mother makes it in time in the panic room with her daughter, and they are trapped there. They see these men in the house rummaging, looking for something. They realize that these women are in the panic room. There's something in there that I want, so I'm going to do everything in my power to get into that room. this movie is very intense. It is one that, like, if you have any, like, if you're claustrophobic at all, you might get a little anxious through it. I know I do, but it is a fun ride. It has a pretty cool ending. There's one man throughout the entire movie, his face is covered. You're like, who is this guy? Why is his face covered? You finally see his face at the end. It's just a fun movie. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. Next movie on my list is Minority Report, starring Tom Cruise. Now, this movie is very, like, sci-fi, futuristic. It is just it's really, really cool to me. There is clearly in the future, there's these three people. I forgot what they're called in it, but they are kind of like prophets. Like, they can see the future and they see when certain crimes are committed and before they're even done. And they tell, they alert the people monitoring them, and the cops or agents or whatever you want to call them, Tom Cruise, badass men, go to wherever the crime is going to be committed and stop it before it happens. Now, this is really a risky subject. Like, I know these people are predicting these things to happen, and it actually has stopped a lot of crimes from happening. But what if something is gonna change? Like, people change their minds. Like, I know I start to do things sometimes, or I have intent of doing something, but what if I get distracted by something and I don't do it? What if I have something comes to me and I'm like, okay, I know this is not right. I don't need to be doing whatever I'm going to be doing. Like, your conscience sometimes chimes in and tells you not to do certain things. Now, this movie kind of touches on that. What if these people weren't going to really commit the crime? Like, they were going to, but then they were just going to pull back and stop this action. I know there's one scene where a woman, you see her husband leave for the day, and her side piece comes over, and then the man, I don't know if he, I can't remember if he forgets something in the house, but he comes back and he catches them. Now, you see him getting ready to murder these people, and Tom Cruise and, the agents jump in and they stop the murder. But what if he wasn't going to do it? What if he stopped it? And that was just a possibility of him doing it. So these people that supposedly were going to commit these crimes are put into a kind of like a coma, like they're not aware of what's going on. They're in like these little pods, if I can remember correctly. But is that really fair? They didn't commit the crime. So this movie was just always, fun for me. Tom Cruise obviously realizes that, wait a second, there is other possibilities, like future possibilities. This system is not, it's working, but is it working? Like, we're taking people out of their equation that didn't actually commit the crimes yet. So it's definitely a fun sci-fi futuristic movie. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. It's just one of those great Tom Cruise films. He's really awesome in it. Another movie on my list is 28 Days Later. Now, again, zombies, love zombies. This movie is a little slow. The sequel is my favorite out of the franchise, but it is a really great movie. I really feel like The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead took a lot from this movie, and I'm a massive Walking Dead fan. It starts off with this man, he's waking up, and I don't know if he was in a coma or what was going on. You see the side of his head shaved, and he's just kind of wandering around, and everybody's dead. There's nobody around. There's a lot of body bags and corpses, and what just went on? That's, if you're a Walking Dead fan, that's how it starts. Rick wakes, there's other things that happen, but pretty much Rick wakes up and he's walking around, everybody's dead, and a bunch of bodies everywhere. So this movie is very similar to that. Then he meets some other people along the way, and it's just them trying to survive this new world. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. The characters are really, really awesome in it. It's a little slow for me. I wish there was a little bit more excitement. The second one is definitely exciting. It gets right into it. Lots of action. The zombies are scary. But this is definitely one of my favorite films of 2002. So this movie stars Cillian Murphy, which I love. He's in Quiet Place 2, Batman Begins. He's just an awesome actor. So if you haven't seen 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later, I definitely recommend those as well. My final movie on the list is Halloween Resurrection. Now, Halloween is probably one of my favorite horror movies of all time. This one is probably not one of their best movies, but it is fun and it has Michael Myers in it, so you can't really go wrong with it. Starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Tyra Banks, Buster Rhymes is in it. It is a fun movie. You can't take it too seriously. It's about some college students who get into this. It's kind of like they are going to be volunteering to stay at the Myers house, having it recorded, and it just seems like something that I would definitely do. But surprise, it's not fake. Michael Myers is there and he starts cutting people's heads off. It is a fun Halloween movie. Again, not the best, but I love anything Michael Myers, anything Jamie Lee Curtis. Spoiler, she dies in the beginning, but you know that they kind of like forget these movies and they rebooted the whole franchise. But you know, it makes me sad seeing Jamie Lee Curtis dying. She's like my final girl. But Halloween Resurrection was one of my favorites in 2002. So comment down below and let me know what movies in 2002 was your favorite. Make sure you are following me on social media. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these top 10 of specific year videos. It's just so much fun for me, and it's really cool looking up the list and seeing all these different movies that came out that year. All right, so thank you for watching, and I'll be right back.